that's a great point, John. And so to get to that point, I think it's important for us to understand how our buyers make decisions. Again, collectively referring to buyers as either advertisers, potential members, exhibitors, sponsors, even companies looking to post jobs on a career center. Let's understand what motivates those buyers to make decisions. Because buying decisions, especially in the B2B world, business to business world, involve multiple stakeholders. Often these groups have 4 to 10 people, each with a different role and set of needs. For associations, this means that when pitching to sponsors, you're not just appealing to one person, you need to win over a team. And we have research that shows that buying groups are actually expanding. If they were 4 to 10 people, now on average, we're seeing around 10 members are part of a buying group. So that can be everyone from executive leadership to the marketing department, sales, finance has a stake. Those who are in charge of corporate partnerships are all in charge of making sure that this decision is made in the best interest of the company. So it's not just one person making the call, multiple stakeholders, from decision makers to influencers, working together to determine whether a product, service, or partnership is a good fit. These groups are key to driving your revenue through events, sponsorships, and advertising. Understanding what drives them and how you can tailor your engagement strategies to meet their needs is essential to building long-term successful partnerships. And what's interesting, we find, is that first, 70% of the buying journey is done independently. This was what we refer to as a dark funnel. So what that means is your next potential customer is likely out there doing their own research. You have no idea they're even interested in your company. So if we're not actively out engaging them, and we'll talk about how to engage them in a few minutes, but if we're not out front engaging them, they could be 70% way through the buying process before we ever have any chance to talk to them. Additionally, if we're only focusing on 1 or 2 contacts per account, this means that we could overlook as much as 60% or more of the buying committees. And our research shows that the growth in the buying group size has been significant. Groups with an average of 10 members are becoming the norm. This means associations must be strategic in addressing diverse needs and expectations within a sponsor's organization. Targeting the whole group rather than just in one individual maximizes your impact. So this slide really illustrates the fact that when we're dealing with a company, whether or not it's a sponsorship, exhibit, or an advertising opportunity, that from year to year, from 23 to 24, the number of buying groups that only involve 1 to 3 people is shrinking significantly, while we're seeing an increase in buying groups growing. So for an association, it's extremely important that we're targeting everyone within that buying group. So now that we've established who makes the decision, let's talk about how they make that decision. Companies participate in what's referred to as a buyer journey. Now, this journey is not a quick stroll. It's more like a long, winding road that involves multiple stages influenced by countless factors and often takes 6 months or even longer to complete. And here's where it gets tricky. The buyer journey is not a straight line. It's nonlinear and can loop back on itself. Imagine you're driving down a road, and just when you think you're close, you get rerouted back to the starting point. It's a complex process for any company making a purchase decision. But here's the kicker. Back to that 70% number, by the time a vendor is contacted, 70% of that journey is already complete. So if we are not out in front of talking to those companies, we have a big opportunity to miss out on winning new business. So if you're waiting to reach out until you know they're ready, you're probably too late. And even more significant, 84% of deals are won by the first vendor that the buyer contacts. Let me repeat that again. That's one that blew me away. 84% of deals are won by the first vendor that the buyer contacts. What this means is if you're not the first to engage with them, you're playing catch up, and that's a tough position to be in. So John, let me ask you, how do you think associations can be that first contact for sponsors or exhibitors or advertisers getting in front of these buyers before competitors?
Well, let me make sure I answer the question you had asked me in full before about just kind of where I see associations benefiting the most from this. I do feel like associations are primed to capitalize on demand generation and brand to demand, which is
Mhm.
why I'm glad we're having this conversation. So by
Yeah.
generating that kind of demand, they're creating that awareness and that interest that you mentioned, which makes it easier for those sponsors to see that value. And building on the association's brand, it strengthens that trust. It makes members and sponsors more likely to engage. So it's a balance of driving that awareness and reinforcing that brand's core values. But when you're looking at who are those multi-stakeholder folks in those groups, in the way to reach those folks, it has to be a tailored approach.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Targeting financial officers with ROI projections, or while speaking to marketing folks with audience engagement stats. It's just the role specific strategy to me makes it easier for each team member to get on board. You're now reaching the decision makers and the influencers at the same time.
Agreed. Yeah. And we're going to talk about in a few minutes. There's some really easy ways, strategies to implement that. So let's say if you don't have a fully robust marketing department or you're strapped for resources, there are things that you can easily implement to help contact and take existing content and tailor it to those different buying groups.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about that buying journey in more detail. There are 4 stages of the buying journey. Understanding these stages allows us to tailor our approach at each step, ensuring that we're meeting their needs and moving them closer to a partnership in any form with our association. So first, we have the awareness stage. At this point, sponsors, exhibitors, or new members realize they have a need or challenge that requires a solution. For sponsors, it might be the need to reach a more targeted audience. For exhibitors, it could be about maximizing event exposure. And for new members, it's often about finding a community that offers professional growth. Here, our goal is to introduce the association as a potential partner that can help them achieve their goals. Next is the consideration stage. Now that we're aware of the opportunity, we're actively researching solutions and comparing what different associations offer. This is where we need to showcase our unique value, highlighting things like the association's reach, the demographic specifics to our audience, and past success stories with similar sponsors or exhibitors. For new members, we might focus on networking opportunities, exclusive resources, or career development benefits. The decision stage is when the buyer is almost ready to commit. They're weighing budget considerations, evaluating ROI, and deciding if our association is the best fit for their needs. At this stage, providing detailed information such as sponsorship packages, pricing options, and case studies can help answer any last-minute questions or objections. Tailoring content to highlight how our association can meet their specific needs can help secure their commitment. And then finally, we reach the post-purchase stage. Once sponsors, exhibitors, or new members have signed on, our work doesn't stop. This is where we focus on onboarding, ensuring a smooth transition, and offering ongoing support through initiatives like client success programs. For sponsors and exhibitors, this might mean regular performance updates and engagement metrics, while for new members, it's about welcoming them into the community and making sure they're accessing all available resources. Effective post-purchase engagement helps build loyalty, encourage renewals, and turns our partners into advocates for the association. So now that we've talked a lot about conceptual ideas, kind of thinking about members, sponsors, exhibitors, advertisers as collectively as buyers of our association. They are purchasing something from us. Now let's transition into what can we do to turn some of these insights into action. Associations know their members better than anyone else. Leveraging this knowledge into actionable insights is how you create real sponsor value. Sponsors want to know their message is reaching the right people at the right time. So how do we turn this intel on buyers into real revenue? It's all about taking what you know about your prospective sponsors, exhibitors, or new members, and using that information to create highly relevant and engaging experiences. So let's walk through 4 key steps for doing this effectively. First, engage the entire buying group. John talked to this a little bit already. For many of our sponsors and exhibitors, Decisions are made by committee, not a single individual. That means we need to communicate with everyone involved, from marketing and brand managers to executives who sign off on budgets. Engaging the whole group leads to a higher chance of converting prospects because each decision maker feels involved and valued. Second, tailor the strategies to individual members of the buying group. Each person in that group has their own priorities. The marketing lead might care about brand exposure, while the finance lead is focused on ROI. Tailoring your approach to speak to each of these priorities can make your association's value clear to all parties involved. Third, align content with the buyer's roles and their stage in the sales funnel. For example, at the awareness stage, a prospect might need a case study showing your association's audience reach, while at the decision stage, they may need a detailed breakdown of sponsorship benefits and expected ROI. Aligning your messaging with where each decision maker is in their journey helps keep them engaged and moving forward. And finally, deploying an omni-channel approach, reaching your prospective sponsors or members across multiple channels. And this includes email, social media, webinars, and even in-person events reinforces your message. Most of you are probably doing this already, but doing it in a much more targeted fashion. It gives them multiple touch points to interact with your association and experience its value firsthand. So John, in your experience, how have you seen associations effectively engage buying groups and tailor their strategies to meet the needs of each stakeholder? Or is this an opportunity for associations to maybe do better?
I mean, I think there's always an opportunity for associations to do better, but the associations that take the time to understand the unique priorities of each stakeholder within the buying group, those tend to stand out. I've seen associations leverage data from prior campaigns to highlight what worked for similar sponsors or exhibitors, which provides a tailored experience. So when you talk about omni-channel approach, to me, that also builds familiarity and trust, which sometimes is the deciding factor in moving from that consideration stage to the commitment or decision stage, Scott.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's so key. And those little subtle things can make a big difference in winning new business. So let's talk a little bit about a marketing strategy to target each one of the stages of the buying journey. So first, let's go back to the awareness stage. Here, potential sponsors, exhibitors, and new members are just starting to learn about your association. They may not know much yet, but they're looking for ways to expand their reach and connect with a specific audience. At this top of the funnel or tofu stage, it's essential to create content that builds demand and positions your association as a valuable partner. For sponsors and exhibitors, highlight the unique benefits of partnership. For new members, showcase the value of your community. For your team, meaning marketing and sales at an association, the focus should be on demand generation content that raises awareness of your offerings and addresses specific benefits. Align your messaging with common pain points. For instance, if a sponsor seeks targeted visibility, showcase relevant events. If a member is looking for professional growth, emphasize educational programs and networking opportunities. In this stage of the buying journey, you want to avoid hard selling. Instead, use insights and industry trends to build trust and establish your association as a resource. So for instance, using content that's in relation to pain points can be very effective. In delivering this content via LinkedIn emails, targeted display advertising, or articles can be highly effective. In the consideration stage, sponsors and exhibitors are evaluating options, comparing the ROI that your association can provide against other opportunities. At this middle of the funnel or MOFU stage, detailed educational content is key. Sponsors and exhibitors are ready for resources like white papers, case studies, podcasts, webinars, and how-to guides that showcase results and expertise. When it comes to the association sales and marketing teams, the focus should be on buyer enablement content that supports their research. Provide resources answering ROI, audience engagement, and branding questions. Cater to different content preferences. Some may prefer a case study, others a podcast or a blog post. Personalized engagement is also crucial. By now, You should have insights from their initial interactions. Use these to tailor solutions to specific needs. And there are companies out there, INFUSE being one of them, that specialize in B2B demand generation and can provide guidance on which types of content best engage each persona at each stage of the buying journey. So John, question for you. What can an association do to stand out in a phase when sponsors, exhibitors, even members are considering different options for where to partner or where to invest either marketing dollars or to join as a member?